All right, y'all. I usually don't do documentaries like that because it's like a lot to talk about. But I'm gonna do this one because it's only like 40 minutes. This one was called "The State of Alabama versus Brittany Smith." Now her situation goes like this: she's just living life. She ends up meeting some guy by the name of Todd. She ended up having 3 kids. She was on the way to having her fourth, but her fourth kid ended up catching some type of disease, and the kid only lasted for 45 minutes. This sent her into a quick depression. She ended up doing drugs. After a while, she needed to go to rehab. She messed up a couple of times and then got herself back on track. They said she was clean for about a good 4 or 5 years. And around this time, she ended up losing custody of her kids. My bad, she ended up having 4 kids by somebody else. So anyway, she was getting help from her mom and her brother Chris. She started picking up part-time jobs, getting the money together, redoing the house and everything like that. So she's basically in a position to try to get back her kids. Well, the situation happened in 2018. By the way, they're in a town called Stevenson in Georgia. I'll tell you why that makes a difference in a minute. So she's chilling with this dude named Todd one day. And then for some reason, Todd ended up spazzing out. Todd ended up beating her and sexually assaulting her. It was crazy. Apparently, this going on for at least a couple of weeks. And while he was assaulting her, he was saying, if you tell anybody about this, I'll kill you. If you call the police, I'll kill you. She was scared to call anybody. She ended up calling her mom and was like, can you take me to the store to get a pack of cigs? Mom didn't know the situation, so she was like, ask your brother Chris. So Chris goes to pick her up, and then Todd comes in the car too. They go to this gas station. Brittany's the only one that gets out and goes inside. She ends up seeing her friend Paige. She tells Paige about the situation, writes some numbers down, and sneaks it over to her. And she says, if anything happens to me, Todd did it. So she gets her cigs and everything and heads back to the car. They get back to the house. Todd heads in the house first. I guess in between when everything with Todd was in the house, Paige ends up calling Chris, telling him the deal. Then they all end up getting in the house. So Chris ends up telling Todd, like, look, man, you gotta get the fuck out the house. And he didn't want to shoot him, so he puts his gun on the table and tries to forcibly remove Todd. They get into a scuffle. Todd ends up choking him. Brittany picks up the gun and tells Todd, stop choking his brother. He doesn't stop. She ends up shooting him. The thing is, she calls 911 and she tells them that she's trying to revive Todd. Bottom line, Todd's done dead as shit by the time they get there. Now, in the police report, she said Chris was the one that shot him. Now, the thing is, Chris told her to say that because if she had anything to do with it, she probably wouldn't be able to get her kids back. Now, we found out after everything is done, Todd attempted to rape her, but he didn't. But he was definitely beating on her because it turns out she had about 33 different injuries on her whole body. So the thing is, down there, they got the stand your ground law. Basically like a self-defense type of law. The only problem is it usually only works for white men down there, not minorities and not for women. Bottom line is it shouldn't matter. If you're defending yourself, you're defending yourself. So after they get all this evidence together, they were going to give her a plea deal of 25 years. I'm like, are you fucking serious? So she's like, fuck all that. I'd rather take my chances in court. Because the thing is, Todd is deceased now. He's done dead as shit. And they had Todd's cousin on there defending him. Talk about, yeah, he's not that type of person when he's not doing drugs. So apparently when you're doing like methamphetamines or whatever like that, the average to settle for like a DUI is like 200 grams. During the incident, this nigga had 840 grams in the milligrams in the system. I'm like, the fuck? So after Todd's cousin tries to defend him, he sounds like a fucking idiot. You know why? Because we found out Todd had 13 other cases before dealing with sexual abuse, adultery, rape. And these were things that he did to his ex-wife. Now, she gave a brief testimony, but they didn't show her face. Apparently, there was a situation before when Todd had tied her up with duct tape and sexually assaulted her while she was in a chair, and they had her kidnapped for like 2 weeks. So after the story gets out, there's a whole bunch of women that are on her side, you know what I'm saying, fighting it off, you know what I'm saying, have belief in her, faith and everything like that she's going to beat this case. Unfortunately, she had to cop out to a new plea deal, giving her 6 months in jail, I think like 18 months on house arrest or something like that. Now, I'm not sure the rest of the time frame, but she had no choice but to take the plea deal. The crazy thing is, the judge that actually issued the stuff, they didn't believe her story. Why? Because she had lied about who originally had shot Todd. Now, I'm not sure in between that how much time she's serving. Bottom line, she should have served no time because it was a self-defense law, right? But then it got to the point where they didn't know if she was sexually assaulted or not. But they know she was savagely beaten and bruised or whatever like that because of the 33 injuries that they recorded on film. On file or whatever. When she made the 911 call, she was probably just freaking out of the whole situation like the shit just happened. And of course, she's thinking to herself, if anything comes back on her, she's not going to be able to get her kids back. I ain't gonna lie, man, that story is crazy, man. Now, you hear a lot of stories about things happen like this happens to them all the time, but the point of this it was about the stand your ground law not protecting minorities and women. It was only set for white men, apparently. The reason being is because mostly white men got off on it, especially in the state of Georgia and Stevenson or whatever the name of the city is. So yeah, it's a documentary. You want to know more about it, check it out on Netflix. You already know what time it is.